Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I am, as always, your host, Tiger Paul Craven. I got my boy Jordan Bowman in the back. He will be joining us momentarily. But before we get into tonight's show and bring on Jordan and talk all things recruiting and a couple other things tonight, if you are not subscribed to the channel already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. Share our videos with your various college football groups and friends. Bring in some more people here to the channel so that we can chop it up with them about Clemson football and college football as a whole as well. And then, as I always tell you guys, the Voice of College Football has launched merch. Please go check out the main channel. Give Mark some love. He is the reason that me and Jordan have this platform that he allows us to use to talk with you guys and to talk about college football and Clemson football. So shout out to Mark. We appreciate him. Shout out to all the other team channels as well. Check them out if you got any free time. And if you're watching college football videos at the beginning of June, you are probably a degenerate college football fan like the rest of us. So I'm sure you can find some use for any and all college football content. But without further ado, my boy, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Good, man. Just glad to be back. I know that everybody missed us last week,
Yeah.
kind of on a short notice, so we apologize for that. But obviously, we had some schedule conflicts last week. But yeah, I'm just glad to be back. A lot has happened these past 2 weeks. A lot of great stuff in the world of Clemson athletics in general. Obviously, the
Absolutely.
baseball team is getting ready to host its first regional in 5 years. So feels good, man. Really excited to see that team get going tomorrow. And there's a lot of recruiting stuff going on this week as well. Obviously, the Dabo Sweeney camp has been ongoing, and then of course the big June official visit weekend is this weekend. A lot of star-studded talent will be on Clemson's campus this weekend. So can't wait to talk about that as well. And we've got some other stuff to talk about as well. So I'm just glad to be back, man.
Yeah, man. It was a crazy week last week. Obviously, as you all know, we couldn't bring you the show. Sorry for the late post there, but at least we got that post up, letting you guys know that we, wouldn't be able to do the show last week. Um, Life happens, guys. We couldn't sync our schedules last week and make it happen. I had a lot of stuff going on, as did Jordan. So we just couldn't really sync it up to have a show. But like you said, man, I'm pumped to be back this week. It felt weird not having a show last week, but the good thing is we have tons to talk about.
Oh yeah,
And as you mentioned, our baseball team. I guess we'll give a quick shout out to them. Start with them real quick before we jump full dive or head first, I should say, into football. We were talking offline before we came on here that if you would have told us that the Clemson baseball team was going to go on to not only have a really, really good season, but have a great run in the ACC tournament and win the ACC championship, and then host a regional, and not only host a regional, but host a regional as a 4 seed. We would probably all would have called ourselves crazy for saying that, but man, they turned it around in a hurry, and it's been all gas ever since. So shout out to them. Wish them the best this weekend in their regional. I'm sure they'll do great. Hopefully that offense holds up and stays true, and they can get it done in advance. So.
heck yeah, man. I'm excited. It's gonna be a good weekend.
Yeah, it'll be a good weekend for Clemson baseball. I'm sure the house will be packed, to say the least.
Oh yeah. And we got them Vols coming to town, so we're definitely gonna see a lot of mustard bottles and golf balls being thrown onto Doug Kingsmore Stadium as well. So
you be careful out there, Jordan.
There.
Yeah, you be careful. You bring your helmet to the stadium, okay?
Yeah, I will.
Bring your helmet to the stadium. You better watch out for them Tennessee fans. They get a little crazy. But last shout out before we jump into the actual show tonight. I want to give a shout out to the softball team, and more specifically Valerie Cagle, because she did win Collegiate Softball Player of the Year, which is a pretty big deal. She won like the Golden Glove. I mean, the list goes on and on for what that girl won as far as postseason awards. And although the Clemson softball season didn't end how we all would have liked it to, I think they still had a really great season. And to win an award like Collegiate Softball Player of the Year is no small feat. So shout out to Valerie Cagle. Congratulations to her and the rest of the Clemson softball team. Hopefully they can take another step next season in their very, very young program. So
yeah, I mean, and that's what you got to keep in perspective is that, I mean, the program has been in existence for now 4 years, and to see where they're at, this young into their existence is pretty incredible. So
yeah, I mean,
really proud of that program.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start to a program, right? I mean, we've had 4 seasons of Clemson softball. They've hosted 2 regionals. They've made it to 2 super regionals. They won 1 regular season ACC championship. So they've done great things. And I'm sure Coach Rittman will have them ready for next season. And I don't think we lose a ton off of the team. We lose I think 3 graduates transfers that we brought in, but I'm sure they'll be good next year too.
Yeah.
All right. Before we jump into it, let's give a shout out to the chat real quick. We got 15 people in here, Jordan. We got 15 college football degenerates just like us watching us. So shout out to you 15. We appreciate you coming in here. Go ahead and hit that like button for us. We got Not Me. He says, no offseason here. That is correct, Not Me. We do not do the offseason around these parts. We don't believe in the offseason. There's still plenty to talk about in the world of college football. So John Sarian says, "'Tis a good year for Clemson baseball. Starting tomorrow for the Tigers." Yep. So, yeah, shout out to the baseball team. Wish them well. John's in here. Appreciate you getting in here, man. Shout out to the Michigan channel. They're always stopping by and showing some love to the Clemson channel. And we return the favor as well to them. So
we have 3 Johns in here. Oh, it's beautiful.
Man,
we have 3 Johns and 2 Wills, man. This is
jeez, what is going on,
this
man?
is amazing.
Are these all burner accounts or what's going on?
No. But it's still cool regardless.
Yeah, it's cool.
John Hendricks comes in. He says, "Let's roll, my fellow Tigers." Absolutely, John. Yeah, we're going to get into, and he wants us to get into recruiting. He's got a lot of, I already see it. He's got a lot of recruiting questions. We are definitely going to spend a lot of time talking about that. So
yes,
stay tuned. Who else is in here? Oh, my man, Will Carter. Nice to see you, man. Yeah, more recruiting questions. What 5 stars do you think might be ready to pull the trigger? A couple for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll get into that a little bit. Will and D, the resident Notre Dame fan.
There you go.
Happy to see you, man. It's been a minute. He says, "What's up, Taters?" Yeah, there we go. He had to call us Taters real quick.
Had to throw it in there, man. Had to throw it in there.
Mitchell Hip comes in. He says, "Let's go Tigers." Yep, absolutely. Let's go Tigers. And we also got Not Me, Clemson and Louisville in the ACC championship game.
Okay.
I can see it. Given Louisville's schedule, could be really good.
Uh-huh.
It would be quite the upset, considering all the pundits and all the preseason talk has been. It's pretty much a shoe-in that Clemson and Florida State are going to meet in Charlotte in some form or capacity. So that would be that'd be really cool. But college football is unpredictable. So I think I covered everybody that's left a comment in the chat. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's dive into this recruiting.
All right, let's dive into the recruiting. As you guys all know, if you've been following Clemson for longer than a season, you know that Clemson kind of tried something new last offseason. Traditionally, Clemson did not do any official visits in the summer. They kind of like to try to save official visits for big games, for when the atmosphere is going to be at its best at Clemson, so that people can get a real feel of Clemson on game day and kind of that excitement that comes around the program with the fans and everybody being there. But last season, Dabo Swinney for the first time held a huge recruitment weekend in June, and he's going to follow suit with that this year. Because why? Because it was super successful last year, and it really helped out Clemson's class, and it really kickstarted kind of their summer heading into fall and brought a lot of excitement to the program. So Clemson's going to do that again, but Clemson's still a unique program in the fact in the way that they recruit, and they only have one opportunity for official visits in the summertime, and that's this weekend. And I like that Clemson does that. And you could talk a little bit about this too, Jordan. But I like that Clemson does that because it kind of forces all these high-profile players and all these big names and all these guys that we really want to get on campus all together at the same time at Clemson. And all the focus is on them, and the whole coaching staff is there, and everybody's there, and it's a huge weekend. And it really paid dividends for Clemson last season. What's your opinion on this still pretty new concept for Clemson of this huge weekend in June, where we kind of go all in on our recruiting to kind of really kick in our recruiting cycle?
Yeah. I think it was born out of necessity, just considering the changes that have happened the past, 5 or 6 years in college football, especially, with the invention of early signing day and it kind of gradually became the signing day pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, early signing day is now what we used to think of, the February signing day as, where all the big time recruits, that's when everybody, made their decisions and then signed on the dotted line, their letters of intent. But,
Right.
Since it's in December now, the recruiting calendar has sped up. Clemson can't afford to, do what they used to do. They used to, slow play guys and, wait till the season to kind of bring guys on campus and for official visits. You can't really do that anymore because so many of these kids nowadays are making their decisions earlier and earlier. And so I think this was a pretty ingenious move by Dabo. And I think it was necessary, and I think it's going to pay off, and it paid off last year as well. So, I mean, if you guys remember that string of commits that happened, in June and July, immediately following their official visit weekend, it was pretty crazy. It was I can't remember a time in Clemson recruiting history where Clemson got that many commits that in such a short amount of time. So I think it's the right strategy. It's a good move for Clemson, and getting all of these guys on campus at the same time, guys that you want in the class, allowing them to get familiar with each other, meet up, and really get a lot of attention devoted to them by the entire staff. I think it's great, and I expect to see some pretty similar returns this weekend as well.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I expect a huge weekend. Just like we got last year. And I think it does help that you kind of get them all together. They all kind of see Clemson at the same time. And I feel like, maybe that helps them feed off of each other's excitement. And then, things just happen. So hopefully it's going to be a huge weekend. I wanted to remind everybody before we got into kind of the list of people that are going to come this weekend and kind of your thoughts on that list and maybe who we should expect decisions out of and when and all that kind of stuff. Before we get into that, I kind of wanted to get into, kind of how we look so far in the recruiting class. We have 8 recruits so far. And these are the recruits right here on the screen. I got them for you guys. So we got Christian, tight end, 6'5", 240. He's a hard commit. Then we got Haven, Tavoy, Noah, David, Champ Thompson, Drew Woodaz, and Nolan, the kicker. So what are your thoughts on the 8 commits that we have so far? And then kind of what we need to focus on as far as adding.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the guys that Clemson currently has committed. Obviously, I mean, top of the list right now is Christian Bentoncourt, the tight end from Illinois. His tape is pretty incredible. He's very, very big, physical, wins at the catch point. He's just a really, really big bodied tight end, but he moves really well for his size. I've seen him as high as the second rated tight end in the entire class, depending on what service you look at. So I think Clemson got a really, really good get. I think the tight end recruiting in general has been pretty great the past couple of cycles, and I think Christian is about up right up there with some of the best that they've gotten. So I'm really excited. I think this was a great take by Kyle Richardson, and way to get his commitment early. So he had a lot of offers. He was a very coveted. So to kind of win that recruitment, in the state of Illinois of all places is pretty nice.
Yeah, it's crazy to kind of win somebody out of Illinois right like that. But those pieces are important, especially early on. Getting a commitment like him, kind of a big name guy, 4-star, big body dude. I think he's going to be really great at Clemson. But that's kind of one of those pillars of this recruiting class so far, and it kind of draws other people in, especially when you get a guy like that early. It really helps the class out because that dude can go out there and start recruiting on social media and all the stuff that all these guys always do. So really good to get him early.
Absolutely. Going further down the list, Heaven Brown Schuler, the first defensive line commit in this class. Really love his tape as well. Just really strong. I mean, he wins with. I mean, if you watch his tape, he's a really powerful kid. He provides some position versatility. I think of it. I mean, he'll probably end up. I mean, he projects as a 3 technique, so it definitely will be inside when he comes to Clemson. But I think he's a really powerful kid, and that's something that Clemson has been trying to emphasize a little bit more this cycle, is trying to kind of beef up a little bit on the defensive line. Well, on really both lines of scrimmage, but the defensive line as well. Clemson tended to go for the more athletic guys that could play along the line, but weren't necessarily the biggest guys. But I think Clemson is kind of shifting more to getting beefier in the middle. And I think Heaven Brown Schuler, I think he's going to be a really nice get. Tavoy Fagan, the cornerback, Carrollwood Day, really, really fast. That's what really jumps off the tape for me. And I think Mike Reed really likes those speedy guys, but that also have the length in man coverage, because this defensive scheme of when you play at Clemson as a corner, you're going to be asked to play one-on-one and man coverage a good bit. So and I think he really has those man capabilities. But so I think he's going to be another great get as well. Noah Dixon, the safety, first safety commit. I love him as well. I think he's still really underrated, but just really smart kid. Talking to him, and he's going to be a really good player as well. Really rangy. So I think the safety takes so far that Clemson has taken these last 2 cycles have been really exciting. I think they provide a lot of upside. I think Clemson's going to be in really good shape at that position for a while. And then David Ajumame, the running back commit. I know that Clemson's running back recruiting has been kind of criticized the past couple of cycles, especially since CJ Spiller took over. They haven't really had much success, getting their top targets. But this cycle, I mean, David, he was their guy. He was the lone running back offer. They zeroed in on him, and he really, really liked what Clemson was selling him. He wanted to be close to home. That was kind of a huge part of his decision, and I think he's really good as well. I think he moves. He's a powerful runner, smart runner, and he has really, really nice speed. At the position as well. So I really like this take, and honestly, I think the more I've seen him on tape, he looks better and better. He's a 2-sport athlete, runs track as well. So I think this is a good take, and it was a nice of this staff to really zero in on him. And then defensive lineman Champ Thompson, another bigger guy, but he's smaller than Heaven Brown Schuler, but I think he's also going to project when he gets to Clemson as a more of an interior guy. But I think he's a very powerful kid as well, and kind of goes back to what I'm saying about Clemson trying to get bigger on the defensive line. And then at linebacker, Drew Woodaz. Obviously, the last name sounds familiar because, yes, he is the younger brother of Clemson linebacker Wade Woodaz. Great take. I think both. I think he has the similar athleticism to his brother. He's not the flashiest kid of all time, but we've seen that these Woodaz kids are built different a little bit. So I'm excited, and it's just kind of a common sense take. Considering having the connection with his brother, and it was really cool to see him kind of post on Instagram about it. Talking about how they had dreamed about playing together in college when they were little. and now that's looking like it's going to be a dream come true. So I'm really happy for him. And then Nolan Hauser, one of the top kickers in the country. Clemson continues to honestly do a really good job at getting top kickers. I mean, got Robert Gunn a couple cycles ago,
right?
And now Nolan Hauser. It's going to be tough to fill the shoes of BT Potter, and you got to fill the room with guys that are capable legs, because Clemson special teams certainly has not been the hallmark of this program under Dabo. So
definitely not
really, really strong kicker.
BT Potter was definitely a bright spot. I think something like 6% of his kickoffs didn't go for touchbacks last season. So he was definitely a weapon, because if it's a touchback, you don't have to do coverage. Nothing bad can happen with a touchback. So and obviously he had a cannon of a leg. Hate how the season ended for him, but still a great Clemson kicker. And we definitely some big shoes to fill. And that's kind of one of the things that Dabo Swinney talked about in spring, right, was the inconsistency of the kicking game. We got some dudes with some monster legs that can boom kicks. They just can't do it all the time. Or do it consistently enough to be trusted by Dabo Swinney. So that's definitely going to be a worry headed into this fall camp. So hopefully those dudes are, putting in the work necessary this summer, because, it's often a forgotten part of the game. But as we've seen, it can be a very detrimental part to your game, because Clemson has had some blunders on the special teams side of the ball many times that I can remember as a Clemson fan. So hopefully we can get that worked out for sure. All right. So that is our class so far. Pretty good. I think we're ranked, let's see, according to 247, we're ranked 20th. Okay. That's kind of where we sit right now, which is fine. Still super early. And then let's see. Let's go to our official visits. So this will be this weekend. So this is the most up-to-date list I could find.
I got a list with me. I've got a list with me if there's anybody missing on here too. So
this is the most up-to-date one I could find that I could share the screen with you guys so that our viewers could follow along. So again, that'll be that recruiting is this weekend. So they'll come in on Friday for official visits. And here's a list, and it's as you guys can see, a pretty lengthy list. I mean, it just keeps going and going and going. Big name after big name. 4 and 5 stars up and down the list. As you can see, these top 3 or top 4 headliners, I guess you could call them, are all 5-star guys, all guys that Clemson are going after. This is going to be a pivotal weekend for Clemson football and Clemson recruiting, and this will kind of be a catalyst for how Clemson's recruiting class shakes out this season. This is the biggest weekend of Clemson recruiting of the year, kind of. This is kind of when we get them all together. This is kind of when Clemson's coaching staff goes all in. I suspect that Dabo Swinney will pull out all the stops for all of these guys. They will see the best of the best that Clemson has to offer. And hopefully we get some big commits. So I guess first we'll just kind of go through the list and kind of talk about the guys that are coming. And then we'll talk about the weekend, guys that, may be committing soon, what kind of the time frame is. Do we expect any commitments this weekend? So let's just kind of go through the list and talk about the guys first, and then we'll get into all the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to go through every all of
No,
them
no,
one
no,
by one.
not everyone. Just highlight a few of the big names that are really coming, that Clemson's really targeting, that we're kind of battling it out for with some other teams.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll address the 5 stars individually, and then I'll kind of talk about some other guys that that jump out to me as we go down the list. But obviously, this is a pretty star-studded group this weekend that's coming in. So, and it's headlined by some guys that Clemson is really in it for, and some deep recruiting battles for.
Yeah.
Obviously, top of the list right here is KJ Bolden, #1 safety in the class. You're in a battle with the likes of Georgia, Ohio State, USC. This is a big one, and I think that right now I would not call Clemson the leader for KJ right now,
Right.
but you do have a really good chance. You have a chance to possibly kind of swing it into your favor with a visit this weekend. I said USC, but I meant Alabama. I'm thinking of Mike Matthews for USC.
There you go. Yeah.
But I think this is a really good chance, like I said, to kind of swing the momentum in your favor. I mean, if you could pair him with Noah Dixon or Ricardo Jones, who's also on the visit list as well, I think this would be a phenomenal safety class. So I think this is a good chance for Clemson to get him on campus and see where you go. See where it goes from there. He's clearly interested. He keeps coming back, but you still have some work to do in that one. And then Mike Matthews, the wide receiver, listed at wide receiver, can really play either a wide receiver and safety. Clemson is recruiting him as a either or. So they're giving him the option of what he wants to play. I definitely think they'd rather him come in as a wide receiver if they do land him. But you're battling the likes of Tennessee, USC, Georgia, and Alabama's also in there as well. But I really think your primary competition right now is Tennessee. He just came off of his official visit this past weekend there, and Tennessee seems to feel pretty good about where they are with him. But I think he's really interested in Clemson as well. And I think it's going to come down to beating out Tennessee for his favor. So, getting him, really knocking it out of the park with this visit would be huge as well. But Mike Matthews really, really talented, and he would be the best commit at wide receiver that Clemson has had in a few years. I mean, this used to be a recruitment that Clemson fans used to feel pretty good about. And another 5-star wide receiver just landing in our lap. But obviously the past couple of seasons have kind of hurt the perception of Clemson offensively. And it's made it difficult to get some of their higher targets at the wide receiver position. So
I think we may have took those times for granted.
Yeah.
A little too much. How easy it was for Clemson to just collect 5-star wide receivers like it was no big deal. But yeah, to your point, two bad seasons at offense, and suddenly we have to fight tooth and nail to get a 5-star guy. So
yeah. But yeah, Mike Matthews, if you knock it out of the park and kind of swing the momentum in your favor, I think that there's a really good chance. But you're definitely in it. Tennessee is also in it. I think those are the two that it's really going to come down to for his commitment. Then the big one, probably the one that Clemson fans have followed for the longest, linebacker Sammy Brown. He was the first offer in this class, the first offer. Yes. And that's always a huge deal.
He literally mentions it every time he's interviewed, almost.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal to him as well.
Yeah,
which is good to see.
Clemson always likes to make that first offer mean something, and they reserve it for that recruit that they really, really like. I mean, this is a recruitment that goes back to when he was little. He's his family is from his parent. Well, I don't remember which one of his parents is. He's got a lot of Furman ties. He's been around the upstate a ton, and he's visited Clemson. He visited Clemson a lot when he was little. He's camped at Clemson million times from, just from when he was little all the way through high school. So this is a recruitment that, the staff has been in for a really, really long time. He is very familiar with Dabo. Even, going back to, he was very familiar with Brent Venables when he was here. So there's a really, really good relationship there. So this is one that Clemson has been in for a long time. They've invested a ton of resources in, but you're still in a battle. Obviously, he's a Georgia kid. Georgia is really high on him as well, and they're fighting for him. And with the way that Kirby Smart has been recruiting as of late, and the success that Georgia's had on the field the past couple of years, it's going to be tough. But I definitely think Clemson is very much in it. Sammy Brown has come back to Clemson even after Georgia's 2 national championships. He's continued to come back to Clemson. He's visited Georgia a ton as well.
Yeah, he's been to Georgia a ton.
So
he likes Oklahoma as well. Obviously, the Brent Venables connection there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think that Clemson is really, really in it. But Georgia is the team to beat. You got it, that you have to fend off. And we'll see what happens this weekend to kind of get a clearer picture of where things are headed ahead of his decision, because he's looking to decide pretty soon after he takes all of his official visits. So I'm really interested to see how this one plays out. And this weekend obviously is a good chance to kind of make your case and kind of put that final stamp on that.
I watched a video that On3 just posted with J.D. Piquel interviewing Sammy Brown, and he was talking about, he talked about a lot of schools. He talked about Georgia. He talked about Oklahoma. He talked about Clemson. He talked about Tennessee, just the relationships that he has with all the coaches. But, one of the things that, stood out for me is he's got a pretty definite time frame in mind for his commitment. So this weekend is going to be huge. If Clemson gets him, it's going to be this weekend. He's not going to come back, I don't think, after this weekend. He's going to take his official visits, and then I think he said he's got off time from summer workouts for his high school team the last week of June and the first week of July. And within those 2 weeks, he's going to make his decision. So I'm assuming an announcement probably sometime in early July. We'll kind of know where he's going. So Clemson's going to have to pull out all the stops and really, really wow him this weekend, because those other teams are coming strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be and he also had really good things to say about Tennessee as well. He just came off of that visit. So that's a team that could be in the mix as well. We'll see. Definitely still think that Georgia and Clemson are the front runners. But Tennessee has a lot of motion in the recruiting cycle right now as well. So I can't count them out. They've done a really good job, and they're in it for a lot of big time guys as well. But Sammy Brown, that's the big one. That's the one that I think a lot of Clemson fans would love to win, just because, and definitely the staff would like to win, because they've invested literally years, like on pretty much a decade. This is like a decade-long recruitment.
Yeah, it'd be pretty disappointing if we don't land him. I don't think it'd be exactly surprising, because there's so many other programs that are right in there with us, but it would definitely be disappointing if we don't land Sammy Brown.
Yeah, I definitely would not be the happiest camper, but
no, definitely not. You don't want to lose out on a guy like that, especially as you mentioned, how much Clemson's put into it. So
100%.
We'll see.
Then last 5-star, composite 5-star, Edric Houston. His recruitment is definitely still taking shape. I definitely would not call anybody the leader right now. He hasn't really come out and said who his true leader is. I know a lot of people believe that Alabama is some people believe Alabama may be the front runner, but I think that recruitment still has a ways to go. I don't think he's looking to rush his decision anytime soon, and he's definitely going to take his visits. But man, it would be really cool to get Edric Houston in this class. Just kind of continue the streak that Clemson has had of landing top tier defensive linemen. That's as much as we groan about the wide receiver recruiting and all that, and the other identity of this program, which has been big time defensive linemen, that hasn't slowed down. So I definitely think that this is a really good chance for Clemson to make a really strong impression. He's definitely really interested in Clemson. He likes what their plan is for him, when he gets there. So I think Clemson is definitely has as good a shot as anybody in this recruitment. So I think this weekend is a really good chance for Clemson to kind of get a really nice head start, possibly, and maybe establish itself as the front runner. Who knows? So really excited to see the returns on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be, and Clemson and defensive line, that's obviously our the calling card that you talked about, and it kind of helps when you got a guy like Nick Eason on the sideline. I mean, the dude is just he's a monster recruit. Like who wouldn't want to go play for that guy? I mean, he's out there in spring ball doing mat drills with the players on a whim. So when you got a coach like that, it's kind of easy to see why we keep landing these big time defensive linemen when you got a guy like that that's coaching them. So,
all right. So and going down the list, I want to hit on wide receivers, and I already hit on Mike Matthews, but wide receivers is definitely probably the most important position, and probably the one that gives Clemson fans the most anxiety when talking about for obvious reasons. But I think this is about as good of a group as Clemson has had on an official visit weekend in a little bit. So I think Clemson has a really good chance to make its case and really establish itself as the front runner for a few of these guys. But starting with Bryant Wesco out of Texas, probably one of the best route running receivers in this class. Just a really, really smooth kid. And just he comes from a really good high school. He's clearly well coached. This one's going to be tough. Obviously, Oklahoma is really, really, really in it for him. But I think Clemson has done a good job as well. I did find it interesting that I don't believe that Bryant Wesco is taking an official visit to Oklahoma. I don't know if that's I don't know if it's because he's been to Oklahoma so many times he feels like he doesn't need to. But I found that interesting. He didn't list he didn't list Oklahoma as one of his official visits. But I'm not going to read into it too much. He's been around that program a lot.
Could be that he just feels like he knows everything he needs to know about that program. And he kind of wants to see the other ones and then make his decision.
And it definitely wouldn't be the first recruit. He definitely wouldn't be the first recruit to do something like that. So but I think Clemson is in it. I don't think they're the front runner, but I do think they have a really good shot this weekend to to make their case. And I think he would be a really nice get for this class. I really like his tape. Again, that's what jumps off the page is the route running. He's just a really, really smooth, technically sound receiver. He's got really good athleticism, catches everything. I definitely think that's a guy that Clemson could use in their wide receiver room. But then going down, just one spot down, another highly rated wide receiver, Cam Coleman. He reminds me, and I don't want to, it's always, you always got to be careful with some of these comps, but watching him, he reminds me a ton of T. Higgins, just the size, the build. He's lanky but tall. The body control, the hands, the catch radius is insane. Dude's got his arms are extremely long, and he's got fantastic hands. And he wins one-on-ones. I mean, he's definitely not the shiftiest guy, but man, he's just a nightmare to deal with one-on-one. And I think he can be a really, really big time wide receiver one for a lot of programs. So I think he would be a really, really good get. Again, just reminds me a ton of T. Higgins, and obviously from Phoenix City, Alabama, where Clemson definitely has had its success as far as getting recruits. Obviously, Justin Ross comes to mind as the big one, but they just got T.J. Parker last class. Ray Thornton, if you guys remember him, safety, 4-star safety. He also came from there as well. So Clemson has definitely has some ties, and Dabo's definitely tapped into that pipeline a little bit. And I think this would be a really, really good get for Clemson. And then going down, I believe TJ Moore will be the next one. Yep. TJ Moore, kid from Tampa, really, really fast. His speed is elite. That's the kind of speed that Clemson hasn't had in this wide receiver room, in quite some time. I think this would be again, all of these wide receivers that I'm talking about are really, really good. And I think could definitely be big time contributors for Clemson. But TJ Moore, I think his speed is what really jumps off the page. He's just an athlete. You're battling Florida, I think, as the primary competition. And it says it on the screen. I just realized. Florida. I would probably call Florida the front runner right now. I think, but I think Clemson could definitely make some ground with this recruiting weekend, and just seeing him, getting him on campus, and letting the staff kind of work on him a little bit. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to pull him from the in-state school. He really likes Florida a lot, but we'll see how it goes.
All right. Let's see. Scroll down.
I think Braylon Staley is.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
Yep, Braylon Staley. Yep. Well, yep. That's it. The last one on the. No, he's not the last one. We still got Alex Taylor to go, but Braylon Staley, the in-state kid from Aiken, South Carolina, speed again. Really, just that's what jumps off the page as well. Just really, really, really fast.
Yep.
I think this is a recruitment that I think Clemson definitely they've done a good job of identifying him early, because he's gotten some big time offers in the past few months. Because I think his speed alone is enough to take not a flyer, because he's really good, but to send that offer out. And he's kind of skyrocketed in his ranking. He wasn't. I just realized he's a 4-star now. He wasn't a 4-star when Clemson offered him. I believe he was definitely a 3-star. He was definitely lower down the list, but he's definitely risen a ton over the past few months. But Braylon Staley, obviously, he has a ton of ties to Clemson. So I think this is a really, really good chance. I think Clemson has a really good shot. I think you're battling Tennessee and Miami mainly for his services. But I think Clemson has a really good shot in this recruitment as well. And I think landing him would definitely be a really nice win for this staff. Just one of those classic Clemson identifying a kid early before he has a ton of offers, especially an 8 kid, and just really, really good evaluation, getting in on him early and getting a head start in that recruitment and ultimately winning out. So I think this is kind of one of those that could be shaping up to be that. So really like Braylon Staley. The speed is great. So
kind of a guy you would like Clemson to get, right? You'd like to see Clemson land a guy like this, especially an in-state guy. Clemson has heard a lot lately about how oh, USC's landing all these in-state people, and that whole thing. So would be nice to see them land this guy, and just as you mentioned, a great player, and Clemson got on him early. So,
Yep.
um,
And then the last guy on this list, I guess Alex Taylor isn't listed here. I'm not
he's
seeing him.
not
He's
listed
definitely
on.
he's a 4-star, but interesting. Guess they haven't updated that yet, but
Yeah,
which is why I have which is why
there we go.
my own list.
That's why we have the Jordan Bowman official list.
Yeah. But wide receiver Alex Taylor from North Carolina, another guy that Clemson has been on for a really long time, primarily battling a lot of the a lot of his in-state schools, North Carolina, NC State. I think Clemson's in really good shape for him. He's kind of he's not a burner. He doesn't strike me. He doesn't project as kind of like a wide receiver one type. But I think he's a really, really just solid, reliable catcher. He's got really great hands. He wins one-on-ones. And I think he could be a really, really nice get for Clemson as well. And I think they've done a good job in that recruitment. And definitely think a commitment could be in the cards pretty soon. So we'll see. But I don't want to. I don't like to make predictions on these because I'm definitely not the recruiting expert.
You said that, Jordan?
I'm still here. Can you see me? Am I frozen or something?
I think my sound cut out.
All right, you guys in the chat, let me know if I'm completely silent. Okay, John says he can hear me. So, yeah, something with you. Interesting. But yeah, to kind of continue, I think Alex Taylor would be a really good get as well. But so I just wanted to touch on those wide receivers because I think Clemson has done a good job with a lot of these guys, and I think landing, even like two or three of them would be huge for this wide receiver room. Definitely want to get at least one of the high profile guys between Matthews, Wesco, Coleman. I think those would be really, really big time gets. And then kind of pair them with a Braylon Staley or an Alex Taylor. I think that would be awesome as well. But we'll see. I think this recruiting weekend, getting them all on campus, I think would be huge. So, can you hear me now?
I got you now.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound loud and clear. Yeah, I could hear you the entire time. So I don't know what happened.
My old headphones died, so I had to switch to the trusty cord headphones here. So.
Yeah, what would this show be without technical difficulties? I mean, that's kind of our thing. So.
It would not be, a Jordan Bowman, Tiger Paul Craven special, without some sort. I mean, something's got to go wrong.
Yep, absolutely.
We got these fancy screen shares right now.
Yep.
That was a little too much. We needed some technical difficulties to go along with that. So, I love it. So, that's kind of the star-studded list heading into this weekend.
Yep. And I guess I do want to touch on some guys because I know that.
Okay, go ahead.
I know at least somebody in here asked if there was any guys that could possibly be pulling the trigger soon, as far as a commitment.
That's what I was going to ask. Can we? Do we expect any commitments this weekend, or directly following this weekend? Who's kind of in that camp of they're pretty close. They may be thinking about pulling the trigger, even possibly on the official visit this weekend. Some guys like to commit right there in person to the coaches. So.
There's not anybody that I'd feel confident right now in saying I feel absolutely well. I feel confident saying they're going to commit like right after, if not during the visit, like right after.
Yeah.
I definitely think there's a good chance that there's a good chance that possibly a couple do. But if we're talking about like guys that are really close to making decisions, I think, well, I touched on a couple of them. Obviously, Sammy Brown is trying to wrap up his commitment, his recruitment. But definitely think it will definitely not be until after he's taken his visits. Corian Gibson, I think, is really, really interesting. The cornerback from Texas, really, really fast kid. And really highly rated, top 100 kid. I think he has said that he wants to take all of his visits, but I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if he decided to go and pull the trigger after the visit. So I don't want to say that he will, because originally he had he was really close to making a decision before the official visit weekend and making pulling the trigger. So maybe getting on campus and enjoying it. If he has a really good weekend and he's feeling good, maybe he decides I want to go ahead and do it now. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I definitely the plan is to for him to finish his visits and then make a commitment. But I think Clemson's in really good shape for him. So I think that's a guy that I would keep my eye on as a maybe. But other than that, there's not, Emilio Agard, I think Clemson has done a good job with as well. I think Clemson has done a really good job with this DB class. I think this is going to be a really, really strong DB class in general. But I don't want to, but again, I don't think there's anybody that I would say I feel really confident on. I feel really confident in saying that they're going to commit immediately after the weekend, but we'll see.
Yeah,
it definitely could happen. And as we saw last cycle, there was definitely a lot of guys that were ready to pull the trigger. So
yeah, I mean, it was
this is a really loaded official visit weekend, and anytime you get these recruits on the campus with Dabo and the staff, there is a really, really good there's a really good shot that they're gonna possibly get some commitments. And some of these guys commit silently. That definitely happens all the time, where they commit to the staff in confidence and decide to announce later. That's what Peter Woods did last cycle. He committed to Clemson during the official visit weekend, and then,
we just didn't know it. He had to let us sweat it out.
Yeah. And then he obviously committed the next month, early July.
Right.
So it definitely could happen, and
hopefully we see a similar thing with our boy Sammy Brown.
Oh, that would be cool. I that would be really, really awesome.
That would be awesome.
I don't. Sammy Brown's recruitment doesn't feel similar to Peter Woods. Different circumstances, but who knows?
Yeah, I think he's really
is a powerful thing, guys. So
yeah, it is. Anything can happen. That's why I'm so excited about Clemson, really embracing this weekend. And it's kind of becoming, a thing for Clemson's recruitment, is to have this huge weekend in June where we get all these top name guys. And as you know, last year was kind of a landslide coming out of that weekend. So hopefully you expect some similar results out of this weekend.
I think it's possible. I think this is a really, really good group coming in. I think that Clemson has done a good job with a lot of them, and is definitely within striking distance for some guys that I wouldn't call them, the leader for. So a lot can change this weekend. That's what really is the big takeaway, is that things can swing in a big way for for a couple of these guys. So we'll just see. We'll see.
Yeah.
John Hendrick says, Jordan, go out there, tell Tell Bolden, Brown, Matthews, Houston, they better come. Yeah, the rest will. Yeah, I'll try to. I'll try. I'll just, I mean, we have a huge group chat, so I'll just message them and be like, hey, just go ahead and commit to Clemson.
Yeah, just be like, man, stop playing around, bro. Come on, you guys know you want to come to Clemson.
Yeah.
You know, why are you playing with our emotions like that? But yeah, I look. You always have to use cautious. You always have to be cautiously optimistic when it comes to recruiting, because you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
anything can happen at any given time, and even dudes that are committed can, flip their commitment, and all sorts of. Nothing's set in stone until they sign that letter of intent, and even then, sometimes, as we've seen, that can problems can arise after that. But I really do expect some good results following this weekend, just judging by the name list that that Clemson has put together. I mean, it's pretty amazing to get all those dudes on on campus at the same time. I think it's really going to pay dividends for Clemson's class, and I look for some big time momentum that's going to start happening with Clemson this summer.
Oh, I did want to point out, and I just thought of it just now, but William Satterwhite got a prediction to Clemson early this morning, I think, on 3. So
okay,
the interior offensive lineman.
Yeah,
I think possibly that's another guy to watch. We'll see. He's definitely a part of Clemson's commitment to beefing up on the offensive line. They've done a really good job. I think he would be a really awesome get. So we'll see. We'll see.
For sure. We shall see.
But yeah, go Tiger. Yeah. Peter Wood, he committed quietly. Yeah. He wanted to do the whole commitment thing. I mean, he had a really awesome commitment video. So it was worth the wait, definitely. I watched that live on Coach Hayes' channel. That was I'll never forget. It's right up there with like T. Higgins' commitment video was awesome as well. I think that one is up there as well. But man, I don't think I've ever seen a commitment video to Clemson quite like that. So that was really cool.
Absolutely. Who's kind of your main dudes that you really want to see of the guys coming this weekend? If you had to pick maybe like 2 or 3 that you would really like to see commit to Clemson, maybe not this weekend, but before the recruiting cycle's over, right? If you had to pick like 2 or 3 of them, and they don't all have to be the top tier, 5-star guys, because that's just not realistic. We're not landing every single one of those 5-star guys coming in this weekend, right? But you're kind of your little group of guys that you would really like to see out of this particular visit commit to Clemson.
Yeah, I guess the number one. I would really love to win the Sammy Brown recruitment just because of.
Yeah, he's kind of my number one as well.
Yeah, how much?
Yeah.
How much the staff and how much Clemson has put into this recruitment. But other than that, I'm going to say I think it's Mike Matthews. I think just he's the kind of athlete that Clemson needs at wide receiver. I think he would be an instant impact type of guy, and that's obviously the position I think Clemson has lacked the most the past couple of seasons. So. Yeah, Mike Matthews, Sammy Brown, and then maybe one of the kind of lower-rated guys. I would go, Braylon Staley, just the speed at wide receiver. Fletcher Westphal, the offensive tackle. Just big, mean, physical. I think he would be I think Clemson has done a really good job in the past couple of cycles at getting really good tackle talent, but I think he's definitely up there as well. So He's probably my favorite of the offensive line guys coming in. So, but yeah, I think those are kind of my big wants.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I mean that kind of that's kind of the kind of wrap up of this upcoming recruiting weekend. It's going to be a huge weekend for Clemson. Obviously Dabo's in the thick of camps right now. Any news out of the camps? Any?
Oh, a ton. I kind of wanted to. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because obviously it's mostly a lot of 2025 kids and 2020 and a couple 2026s, but loads of offers just came out the past couple of days. So it was really cool to see that, and it honestly it was more than I was expecting. But I think it's kind of showing that Clemson is being more aggressive in their approach in recent cycles, just because how the recruiting calendar is sped up, and they want to get in on these guys earlier. So, but yeah, a ton of offers. The first one of this cycle, obviously, Sammy Brown was the first of the current cycle. The first one in 2025 was David Sanders, the offensive tackle from Providence Day High School in North Carolina. Teammate of quarterback Jaden Davis, as you know that Clemson was recruiting him.
Right.
I think David Sanders is the number one overall recruit currently in the 25 class. So really, really huge, and definitely going to be a fight for sure in that battle. Obviously, long ways to go, 2025, but Clemson sending that offer, giving him that first offer, definitely means a lot. Shows how he's definitely going to be a priority down the line. So really interested to see how that one goes. He says that's an offer. Clemson was the offer he was waiting on. It's been a dream school of his for a really long time. So we'll see how it goes. But Clemson definitely is in it. So we'll see. And then another guy I want to point out, quarterback. George McIntyre. Sorry, something stuck in my throat. 5-star quarterback, elite arm talent. My favorite quarterback in the 25 class. I think he has. I don't want to. I'm going to stop short of saying. I'm going to stop short of saying generational, because that just means. I think that word gets thrown around a ton too much, but
it's so overused at this point.
But I think he's got an elite of the elite arm talent. Just if you watch his tape, just the type of throws he makes will make your jaw drop. So if you haven't, go check out George McIntyre.
I've not checked him out at all, but I definitely will.
He's I think he's already my number one want for 2025. I think he's elite. So we'll see. But they sent out that offer. The staff loves him. He worked out for him, and from everything I've read and heard, that he blew it out the water. So the staff was more than impressed, and that's a guy that you're going to hear his name a lot moving forward. Just big arm, but extremely. He's really advanced, for his age, as far as just the types of throws he makes, tight windows. He puts a lot of touch, extremely accurate, just everything you want in a quarterback. And he moves really well as well. So, I don't want to spend obviously not a lot of people care about 2025 until it's time to care about 2025. But David Sanders and George McIntyre are guys that you guys should kind of keep note of, because those are elite talents that Clemson is definitely going to prioritize moving forward. So we'll see.
For sure. So that's awesome. Glad some benefits are coming out of the Davos camp. That's always been a good tool for this coaching staff. They always kind of identify, certain individuals in those camps and really get on them early. So it's good to hear some positive things are coming out of camp, especially, at the quarterback position. That's always a good thing to hear. So, but yeah, I think that wraps up our recruiting stuff for the show.
Yeah.
We still got a couple other things to get into, but I want to give our audience an opportunity real quick before we kind of transition from recruiting and all the stuff that we started the show off with. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about Clemson's commitment so far, our hard commit so far. Talked about this huge recruiting weekend, different guys that are looking to commit within the next month or so. So if you guys got any questions about recruiting, specific players, anything, I'll give you guys about a minute or so to get the questions in the chat so me and Jordan can answer them. But if not, we'll go ahead and move on to our next few topics that we have to wrap up our show tonight. Go Tiger said we offered like 6 top 15 kids so far.
Yeah, the offers have been flying out, the past 2 days. So, yeah. You mentioned Elijah Grip. That's a guy I wanted to. I forgot to mention as well. But, man, it's different because you definitely don't see Clemson, be this aggressive, sending out offers this early. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see kind of how that class shapes up, because I think the 2025 class as a whole is extremely loaded. It might be it's one of the most talented classes I can remember in a while. So a lot of talent up for grabs. I think so I'm really excited to see how that, the 2025 class shapes up. Obviously, having a really strong season this year would go a long way. So we'll see.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see, we got anything else in here? No? All right. I think that'll do it for recruiting. All right. So let's transition. I wanted to talk about this last week, but obviously we didn't have a show. So we'll get to it this week and kind of end the show with a couple quick topics here. But I wanted to talk about Will Shipley a little bit. Obviously, we got huge aspirations for what Will Shipley's going to be this coming season. He's coming off a great year as just kind of an all-purpose guy, right? Kickoff specialist, great running back, catching the ball out of the backfield if he needed to. Not a whole lot of that last season, but from the sounds of things, if you've heard him talk, if you've heard Garrett Riley talk, if you've heard some of the other offensive coaches talk, that kind of stuff's looking to change this coming year. They're like Garrett Riley's main thing is to get the ball into the playmakers' hands and then let them go to work, which makes a lot of sense, right? But he did an interview with the Next Up podcast. I can't remember the guy's name right now.
I think it's Adam something. I know.
Yes, his first name's Adam. I don't remember his last name, but I think he was a Penn State tight end. He does media now, right? He's got a YouTube channel where he kind of interviews all these athletes, interviews a lot of Clemson guys, and his latest interview was Will Shipley. And Will Shipley got on there and talked about a whole lot of things. And I just kind of want to talk about a few things that Will Shipley talked about, some interesting things, kind of a look back into the past of what 2020 recruitment looked like for those guys, and kind of how coaches were navigating it, the recruits were navigating it, and how close it actually was. I don't know if I realized it was as close as it was between Notre Dame and Clemson. Did you realize how close it was between him going to Notre Dame over Clemson?
I mean, well, because I was really close to that recruitment.
Okay.
He's from my hometown, so
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was very, very invested in that one for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was definitely torn, and Notre Dame had, they had done a really good job, and that obviously that was, COVID had happened, and it made things really, really difficult
Mm-hmm.
um, as far as recruiting was concerned. Um, but and he committed on a Zoom call and everything. So, but yeah, it was extremely close, and it
Yeah.
it could have easily gone the other direction for sure.
Yeah. He talked about how close it was, and he got kind of in depth on the podcast about kind of just how close it was, and at one point Clemson was pretty far in the lead, and he had these official visits planned. I think he had one to Clemson, one to Notre Dame, and one to Stanford. Um, and then COVID hit. This is like March 2020, right? COVID hit, and then all that's canceled, and suddenly recruitment's being done by Zoom, and it's the dead period. Nobody can come to campuses. Nobody can, meet with coaches in person. So these dudes are like literally taking, you know, recruitment tours through Zoom calls and stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting. He said Notre Dame made a really good late push. I guess they did really well with the whole Zoom thing and kind of how they handled that thing. But it was interesting. He kind of credits Tony Elliott for being the reason that he committed to Clemson. Tony Elliott's the guy that kind of pushed him over the top for Clemson, and he talked about kind of how he gave him some extra love, some verses, and really talked to him not so much about football, but just about how to make decisions and how to really be sure about what he was doing. So it was really interesting to me that Tony Elliott was the main catalyst for him committing to Clemson, and then he gets to Clemson, and Tony Elliott's not his running back coach, right? It's you know it switched. Tony Elliott went to the tight ends, and then C.J. Spiller became the running backs coach, and then obviously Tony Elliott went on to be the head coach at Virginia. But I just thought it was a super interesting interview where he kind of broke down kind of that recruitment and really how it went. And the one thing I like about Will Shipley, when he gives an interview, he's just super honest, man. Like he doesn't pull any punches. He just tells you exactly how it was. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and he talked about having like a spreadsheet for like every team, and Notre Dame won out in the spreadsheet, but obviously Clemson won out overall when it came to his commitment. And I thought it was also funny. He told a story about his parents and how they wanted him to commit to Clemson, like on the junior visit, like in person on the junior visit. They were like, "Yep, this is it. This is the place. This is where we want you to go." And he wasn't ready to do that. So, pretty cool stuff that came out of it. And he kind of ended it with, or one of the last things that I was going to bring up about it was the NIL thing with what shit happens. I'm sure everybody knows the story that Dabo was out to dinner with friends or something, and somebody said ship happens, and then he called Shipley and was like, "Hey man, you should trademark this and make T-shirts and blah 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 blah." Right? So it's super funny when you hear stories like that from actual players that play for Dabo Swinney, that are with Dabo Swinney every day, and he's giving them NIL ideas to make money and capitalize off of their name. But you have the national narrative that goes around about how he doesn't want college football players getting paid and all that kind of stuff. So I just think it's super interesting to hear stories about that, because the national, or at least the majority of the narrative around Dabo Swinney is he doesn't like NIL, he doesn't like the transfer portal, he doesn't want any of that in college football. And you talk to his players, and they don't seem to have those same sentiments when it comes to those things.
No, and I know Will Shipley is kind of he's kind of one of the poster children of kind of what Clemson is about, and kind of what his how he carries himself, what he prioritizes, all of that. And so, yeah, it really came out in that interview. And it was really, really awesome to kind of just listen and kind of get some more insight. Cause I mean, obviously I was pretty close to that situation. I knew I'm friends with one of his trainers. So I was pretty in the know with a lot of stuff, but it was
Oh, wow. Yeah.
it was nice to hear kind of his personal perspective on everything went down. So and it was awesome to hear him decide he was coming to Clemson, because obviously I was very personally invested into that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I watched him a ton of times in person. He used to beat up on my old high school, so that was that was fun to watch too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, that interview was really, really good. I mean, it's just such a chill guy, laid back, down to earth, but really honest and open, and just a really intelligent kid. So it was really cool to just kind of listen to that interview and kind of get his thoughts on a lot of stuff, life, Clemson football, and everything in between. So that was
absolutely cool. Yeah. Yeah, he just seems like a genuinely cool guy. Super grounded, super humble. Kind of does things for the right reasons. You feel like, he talks about his NIL opportunities, and how he likes to give back. He likes to donate to the children's hospital down there, and all that kind of stuff. So really cool stuff. And then he kind of gave his goal for the season. I guess the upcoming season, and that was just to, none other than it'd be the best back in the country. So, no shortage of expectations there for himself, obviously. Really cool interview. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. I think it's like an hour long. They just sit there and chop it up and talk about, all the way up from his recruitment to, all the things at Clemson and NIL, and they go into all sorts of stuff. So it's definitely worth a watch if you guys have time. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Okay. Yeah, you answered him. Gotcha.
Yeah. Grad school now.
Grad school, where the smart kids go. All right. Let's transition into, since we're talking about NIL, since I mentioned NIL with Will Shipley, let's talk about our boy Peter Woods. He is yet to play a game for Clemson, but he just signed an NIL deal with the big brother and sister of the Upstate, right? So he's going to partner with them. And he kind of released a tweet talking about how it's a mentorship for young people, and he looks forward to kind of bridging the gap between those young people and their goals that they have in their life, and kind of mentoring them in that way. And it's super refreshing when you see guys like that that are as highly touted and talked about as a guy like Peter Woods is, pairing with an organization like Big Brother and Big Sister, and really giving his time back to the community and back to those kids that are in need, who maybe don't come from the best background and don't have the best resources. And I just think that's super special for a guy like that to do that. And you hear Dabo, you hear the rest of the coaches talk about him, about how he's the complete package. You can talk about all the on the field stuff, and he's physically capable. Obviously, we all saw what he did in the spring game. He was one of the highlights of the spring game. He's one of the best performers out there. But when you really hear the coaches really talk about him, it's about his mentality off the field, and kind of how he carries himself, and just being, probably mature beyond his years. And I thought it was worth a mention for his NIL deal, because I think he just signed it like this week. So
yeah, I think he put the tweet out like yesterday or
So
well, he put the tweet out yesterday, but I think he was signed for a while. So
yeah,
yeah, it's just really cool. And Go Tigers mentioned in the chat that TJ Parker also signed one with them as well. So
yeah,
big D lineman for Clemson already getting in.
they doing their thing, man.
NIL deals, but hey, if you're a defensive lineman at Clemson, you definitely got a lot of you definitely have a lot of NIL potential for sure, because you're going to get on the field and you're going to be pretty well known by the time you leave. So, and obviously, Woods definitely had a name for himself before that. So,
absolutely, it's just good to see guys using it in the right way.
Absolutely.
Not letting a little bit of hype, a little bit of fame go to your head. Just staying grounded in the people that they always were before everyone knew their name. It's encouraging to see guys, especially that young, man. That's tough. It's tough. It's easy to be like, yeah, you should do this, you should do that, but when you're young like that and you got all that noise around you, sometimes it's tough to stay grounded. So I think it's worth shouting out those that do, and those that make the right decisions. So, super proud of Peter Woods, TJ Parker, obviously too. Like you said, those D linemen out there doing their thing, man, giving back to the community, taking care of those kids. Peter Woods has his own brand also.
He has his whole thing.
He came with his own brand before he even got to Clemson.
You saw his commitment. If you watched his commitment video and the live stream, and he had all the merch up and everything, I was like, oh man, but it was really cool. It's really cool, and he's also it's great because he's a great football player too. So, but it's cool to see him really have his head on his shoulders about all of this. So,
you see, Go Tigers says Saban been against NIL forever. Made comments about NIL last week and didn't get any flack. Well, yeah, you're right. It's because he's.
You should have seen what Eli Drinkwitz said this week. Now that was about putting your foot in your mouth.
What did he say?
Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach at Mizzou.
I didn't catch it.
When he was talking about NIL, he said that this is a broken system, and that the players today are getting paid more, than his brother, who's I think did he say he was a pediatrician or something like
doctor.
that?
Yeah. I did see that headline. I didn't read a story. I saw a headline, or maybe it was a video on YouTube. I can't remember, but I didn't click on it. It was earlier today. I saw collegiate athletes are making more than doctors.
He was like, those guys, and he's like, they save lives. Yeah. And it was so funny because the guy that is making millions of dollars to coach football,
right,
is saying something like that. And it was just kind of, it was really,
it's like,
it was kind of funny.
A little bit of self-awareness there, buddy.
Yeah. You kind of, you gotta be better than that.
It's not like, did like, can we really say that like we didn't see this coming? Of course, collegiate athletes are going to be paid well.
Yeah.
As soon as you allowed it, as soon as you made the rules available to allow it to happen, the money was always there.
Oh,
there were people always there willing to pay money. You saw it because people were getting NCAA violations, right? Look no further than, the only death penalty that we've had in college football, right?
Yeah.
As far as a program, right? SMU, so the people with the money have always been out there. The boosters have always been out there willing to pay the players whatever it takes to get, so-and-so player to come to their university. That was always the case. Now it's just legal.
Yeah.
It's not surprising, honestly. If you know college football very well and the passion and the fan base that goes behind, a lot of these teams, it's really not surprising the money that these dudes get when you truly think about it.
Yeah.
John Sarin says parents pressure kids a lot about NIL. That could be a
Yeah,
problem.
that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. I mean, sometimes it's the parents that are more concerned about NIL than the players
Right.
themselves, and
Yeah.
that's always something you have to navigate because we don't really think about the parents, and we just assume every set of parents it has their kids' best interests in mind and always
Right.
want, and they just want them to get a good education and all that. I mean, yeah, there are definitely those parents, but some of them are not like that. So
Right.
uh,
Yeah. I
you
do.
gotta,
Yeah, I do think that's something that we don't talk about very much, but is obviously a thing that happens far too often than it should.
yeah. Uh, Yeah, NCAA violation. Yeah, Clemson knows all about NCAA violations and kind of the selective
Yeah.
um, enforcement of it, and they know about and hell even the enforcement from their own conference.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day.
Yeah. We won't get into all of that. We won't get into all that.
Yeah, that's that's a whole another can of worms for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. You want to take some final questions and then get on out of here?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get your final questions in. And then me and Jordan are going to head out of here. We've been on here for an hour and a half. I think it's been a pretty good show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But we'll get out of here. We'll give you guys a few minutes to get your questions in. Um,
It can be about anything: recruiting,
anything.
football,
Could
life,
about life
whatever.
in general. Uh, you need to know what stock to buy next.
No, don't ask that. I'm not giving you that.
I'm not doing it either. I'm not doing it either. You
John
see all? Yeah, go ahead.
John gets in and says, "Will Strider make the All-Star?" I think he will. I don't see how he wouldn't at this point. I mean, Spencer Strider is on a historic, I mean, he's like, I don't remember what the stat is, but he's like the fastest to get to he's on pace to be the fastest to get to. I don't know what number of strikeouts it is, but it
took him only 100 games.
Yeah. To get to
like that.
100 games to get to. I don't remember what the benchmark was, but
yeah, I can't remember. I saw
think he
saw
has
the
to.
graphic the other day, and I was like, wow. It's pretty crazy. He better make the All-Star. I mean, I don't know what else he has to do.
Yeah. I mean, with the way the Braves, I mean, Braves are a good ball club. I don't understand how he wouldn't be. He's been incredible, and I mean, it's a shame we didn't get to see much of it at Clemson because he had like Tommy John surgery after his freshman year and was basically done. But really, really talented.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it in the league now. Think we will see the playoffs this year. You know what?
I think
that should be the goal. That's what I think that should be the expectation. That should be the goal. I'm not good. I think when we get closer to the season and we kind of get a better picture of what Clemson's going to look like as far as depth charts and stuff and all of that, I think we'll definitely be making predictions farther down the road. But I think playoffs should be the expectation. That should be the goal for this season. So. But I definitely think it's definitely attainable. I mean, the schedule is definitely manageable. I mean, obviously you've got Florida State and Notre Dame are your kind of two big games on the schedule, and then obviously the in-state rival be really big to get kind of revenge on them as well. But other than that, you really have a very manageable schedule, and the expectation should be to be right back in Charlotte, win the ACC championship game, and make that playoff. So,
and luckily for Clemson, our two biggest games are at home this year.
Yeah.
So we get Florida State at home, we get Notre Dame at home. I think we got to go on the road to Miami, but still,
they're
whatever.
Sorry, Miami fans, if there are any.
I'm not too worried about that. And then obviously on the road to South Carolina, but don't worry, they're gonna get what's coming to them. So,
Damn right.
um,
I feel good.
I think it's.
I feel really strongly about that. I will. I do think Clemson is going to go into Columbia
Yeah.
and take care of business.
Oh yeah,
I feel really good about that.
they're gonna be about it this year. I guarantee you. A lot of players on that team got a bad taste in their mouth. Um, and to your point, like I don't think it's unrealistic for Clemson fans to have an expectation that we should, at a minimum, be in the conversation for a college football playoff this year.
Yeah.
You can't control what happens in other conferences and all that kind of stuff. But if Clemson takes care of business, looking at their schedule, there should be no reason why they don't have a spot in the last 14 college football playoffs.
Yep.
So.
Like Mike gets in, he says, "Did y'all happen to see where Athlon predicted Florida State to have a better record than Clemson this year? I thought that was interesting. How about y'all?" Well, it doesn't surprise me if you've seen the Vegas win totals. I mean, I think Florida State is at 10, Clemson's is at 9.5. Florida State been the hot pick to win the ACC. So yeah, there's a lot of people riding Florida State right now, so it doesn't surprise me.
They're getting a ton of love in the national media. They're getting a ton of love all over. All the talking heads of college football. So it's not surprising people are picking them. Do I think that's going to be the case at the end of the season? No, but I think there are going to be some disappointed FSU fans this year, but it's okay. It's okay. They will survive.
Will Carter, name the first guy to commit as a result of this coming weekend's events. That's a really good question.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question. There's a couple of guys. Man, who would I lean toward right now? I've already mentioned Corian Gibson. I know he wants to take his visits, but it would not surprise me if he decided to pull the trigger this weekend.
Yeah.
I think Braylon Staley, if you really, I think he's gotten a lot of love recently, but I do think Clemson is still very much in the driver's seat in that recruitment. Definitely think he's up there. William Satterwhite, like I said, got a prediction to Clemson this morning, so definitely could see him as well. That's tough. Alex Taylor as well. I think Clemson is very much in the driver's seat for. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna. Oh man, I'm going back and forth on that. I'm gonna say Braylon Staley. I'm gonna say Braylon Staley. That's what I'm gonna go with. Braylon Staley, and then my next pick would be. My next pick would be William. I think my next pick would be William Satterwhite, but I'm gonna go Braylon Staley.
That's who I was gonna go with, Staley. Feel like there's gonna be a few commitments this weekend. At least I hope. Get us kicked off.
Yeah. Who do you guys have winning the NBA Finals? And Jobo, do you want Jimmy to get a ring? Well, yes to that question. I have Nuggets in 5, but wanted to be a good series. But $10 on Caleb Martin scoring over 15.5 tonight. Well, it's been Caleb Martin overs have been really, really good. They've been a really good bet. He's been insane this playoff. But I've got the Nuggets, but I'm rooting for Jimmy and the Heat. I think hate it if the Nuggets won because I like Nikola Jokic, and it'd be cool to see a first-time winner in the NBA Finals. This is the first time the Nuggets have even been in the NBA Finals. So.
Right. I don't know. I've been following the NBA playoffs pretty closely, and it's pretty cool, these NBA Finals for me, because honestly, like, I won't be upset if, like, for whatever team wins, right? Like, I'll be happy with whatever team wins. But with that said, I honestly do think the Nuggets are going to win. I think at best Miami can push it to 6 games. I just don't think I don't think they have enough. They have nobody that can do anything with Jokic at all. Bam is not gonna stop him or slow him down at all. And if Murray keeps playing out of his mind like he has been, and Denver's got a pretty deep bench. Everybody talks about Miami's bench, but Denver's got a pretty deep bench as well. So they got dudes that can put up 20 points in a hurry, and they seem to hit all the key shots when they need to because Jokic is such a good passer. So I definitely got the Nuggets in the series, but I would be more than happy to see Jimmy get a ring. Wouldn't be upset at all. But I do think Denver's going to win for sure. I think they definitely take the first game tonight, especially in Denver.
See any more? How about I didn't skip one? I don't think that would linger or is that, but that's not okay. That's not a question for us. Luke says Alex Taylor is a Tar Heel. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. But I feel good about where Clemson is at in that recruitment. I think that does it.
Yep, I think that's it. I think that'll do it for the night, guys. We appreciate all you guys staying out. We still got 14 people hanging out here with us here, Jordan. I think we had a great show. Again, sorry for missing last week. It was kind of unavoidable, but it was a great show back. Our 21st episode in the books. We appreciate you guys showing up and showing out for us. And we will see you next week, right? So, again, be back here. Our time is going to steady, I promise. We're kind of getting through all the hiccups of softball season with my daughter and, all the different stuff we had going on. Graduations are over. All that stuff's done. So look forward to seeing you guys here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you guys for showing up. Hit that like button. Please share the video. Subscribe to the channel. And bring some more people along, guys.
Yes.
But, yeah, without further ado, Jordan, go ahead and send our fine people off.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really nice turnout tonight. Kind of a mixed group. We had some Notre Dame fans, Michigan. Obviously, we have plenty of Clemson fans, but it's nice to get multiple. Even a UNC fan. Shout out to Luke. So it was really, really nice audience tonight. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Same time. We promise it's going to be consistent.
Yeah, we're getting the consistency back. But until next time, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He is Jordan Bowman. We'll see you next Thursday.
Later, y'all.